Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Let's Rap podcast. I'm your co-host Jay Echo. What's good?
Yo, what's up, y'all? It's philosophical. How y'all doing? What's up? What's up?
And today we have a topic that we've been discussing a little bit recently, and that is the misconceptions of men. We Unsurprisingly to no one, we've gotten a kind of a bad rap in the public over the past, I'd say, couple years, not even months. And we just wanted to sit and discuss some of the stigmas that have sort of lingered with men as a result of some of the bad behavior of the people in the public and everything like that. So that's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yep.
So Phil, let's start with you. What are some of your thoughts on these misconceptions and what some of them are and how you feel about them, all that sort of stuff.
I think a lot of times, there's a lot of pressure on men to succeed, not to fail, to always be prepared. I feel like that's kind of a misconception to the fact that society is programmed and also taught us and teached us that, we are it's so much pressure to perform. It's so much pressure to make the right choice. You know what I mean? I heard something today. I felt resonated really well with me is that um, man is not your competition. And let me explain that to the fact that another person is not really your competition. And I go through this myself to the fact that you know just because someone else has more money than you do in a better place than you do does not make them a better person than you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? The way that you see someone's may not be how they're perceived in real life. You have no idea what they may be going through, how they got there. You know what I mean? So the
Mhm.
next man is not really your competition. You know what I mean? That's first and foremost. As far as being yourself, being able to just come to your own understanding on how to get through things. You know what I mean? Tell your story, being able to constantly, I always think that there's always this misconception of a man always thinking, and that's true. It's very true. That's not really a misconception. That's the fact that I feel like a lot of men in this world, we're constantly thinking on the next move. I feel like, a lot of times, we make the wrong moves, we make the wrong decisions, we take the wrong steps. A lot of times, if you, and this is another good point I heard this morning, is the fact that um, if you're looking at someone through the TV or through a movie and you're like, why am I not there? And you figure out a way to get there, you're kind of skipping the process. You know what I mean? You're kind of skipping the process of how to get to take baby steps. You know what I mean? How to get to where you need to get to. So a lot of misconceptions in my mind are like, you know, is the fact that if men are overthinking certain situations, it's not the fact that we're overthinking this, is that we're trying to succeed at all times. And that's the pressure of not being able to succeed, failing, not wanting to fail. So much pressure from our significant others, whether that's supportive pressure, whether that's physical pressure, whether that's mental pressure, as far as like just it's just so many I call it arrows hitting to the mind. You know, you got work, you got significant other, you got figure out a way to get out of some type of struggle,
And then
figuring
the
out a
pressure you
way.
put on yourself.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, especially just the way to make yourself better than the next man. And man is not really your competition. I know a lot of times I'll say my mind is my only competition because I'm trying to figure out how to navigate through it. You know what I mean? So that I feel like a lot of misconceptions of men is that another misconception is that we I feel like we're not holding each other as far as accountability of just checking in on each other. You know what I
mhm.
mean? That's a terrible misconception in the fact that just calling your brother, calling a good friend and telling them, like, yo, I was just calling to see how you doing, because you never know what the next man is going through. You know what I mean? So I feel like once we once we get to a point where it's like that misconception, as far as like from society, the pressure from your significant other, the pressure from work, the pressure to succeed, this whole misconception of trying to make the right choice from society, from social media, from TV, from movies. I just feel like um, you gotta get through the process. You gotta know the process. You gotta struggle a little bit to understand the process. And I feel like there's a big misconception in the fact that most things, as far as if you work hard enough, you receive something at the end. That's not necessarily true. You could be working at the most. You could be working hard towards failure.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like the misconceptions of the significant other can be just, if you don't bring awareness to the fact of what you're dealing with, how you're being treated, how you're treating others, can be a really, really bad, like it can be toxic towards you and
Yeah.
can really put a wall up and hold you back. So um, that's kind of where I stand on misconceptions of the man.
Okay, and I'm gonna address what you said in, or I guess respond to what you said in parts, because you were talking about the next man isn't your competition,
Correct.
and I feel like that goes back to something I said on one of our super shows, which is um, having to put somebody else down so you can feel big makes you weak to me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people might have felt some type of way when I said it, but it's like, no, like for me or to me, what makes me feel powerful or what makes me feel strong isn't the other man doing less well than me. It's
Hmm.
me doing well.
Hmm.
So me dragging another person down just so I can be at the top of the heap doesn't feel like victory to me. It's like, okay, so I didn't win. I didn't beat you. I had to drag you down to my level so I could feel some type of way. And
Hmm.
that's not victory. I mean, sure, you could stand on all types of technicalities, and at the end of the day, it's all about winning and all, but that's not the type of man I want to be. And I think the comparing that misconception that as long as you end up on top, it doesn't matter how you got there. I think that's something that needs to be addressed in our community and in larger communities as well. But that brings me to the one of the other points you made about like the uh the pressure we put on ourselves to succeed, the pressure we put on ourselves to always make the right decision, and the pressure we put on ourselves to appear to be doing the right thing, right? How we appear to other people. And that leads me to something that I was watching earlier. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I was watching a video earlier, and it was about the Great Wound. And the idea is that all of us, all people, we have one, like, that thing that has injured us, that has taken us out. I mean, and Shatoria has spoken about it on this show as well, like the original wound, or whatever words you want to put to it, where like that thing, that internal thing that has damaged us and has affected us, ends up defining how we move through the world moving forward, even without us understanding
Yeah.
what that thing is. And so we're constantly trying to make decisions based on subconsciously or consciously, based on this thing that we haven't addressed, like that if we did address it, would like later down the line we'd probably be like, well, it wasn't that big an issue, it wasn't that big a thing, we just, we refused to address it, and we let it linger, and it turned into this bigger thing that has come to ultimately define us.
Yeah.
And and that's like, and when you're in that place, when you're in that space, no matter how much work you're doing, because you haven't addressed the original pain, so to speak, you're in turn, you're not addressing what you actually need. You're addressing what you want or what you think you want, but you're
Yeah.
not addressing what you need.
Yeah.
And so, like, for instance, the example the example this person used was when he was younger, he used to think he had really big lips, so he would do all of these things, and it's sort of a random thing, but it's like he would do all of this stuff to try and make his lips appear smaller to other people because to him, not to anybody else, but to him, his lips were super big. So what's it called? He would do all of these seemingly innocuous behaviors to try and minimize that one thing. And those behaviors would then bring attention to him, which would then cause him to believe, oh, you're paying attention because you're thinking about that thing. And then it would cause him to do more behaviors. And then it turned into this cycle of I'm doing more and more extreme stuff, but I haven't addressed the original issue, which is my body dysmorphia regarding my lips, right?
Yeah.
And once he addressed the original issue, like you get therapy, you sit down with a preacher or whatever the case may be. Once you address it, then it's like, all right, now I can see all of those behaviors that were caused by this thing, and I can correct them. And it's the same thing with men. Like I feel like we are told so much that we shouldn't be worrying about the small things, the little wounds that we incur over because we're supposed to be strong, we're supposed to be tough, we're not supposed to worry about all this stuff.
But
And
what do you tell the men that feel like, you know, that's all they can that's how the only way they can operate is
I mean,
them being told. I mean, you got a lot of men out here that I call yes men. That just they just follow the commander. They
yeah,
just follow the leader. And
right.
I feel like
Go ahead.
that's a situation where it's like, you know, I feel like a lot of people belittle themselves or sabotage their mental to the fact that they have no idea the potential they have if they
Oh yeah.
just understood a lot of like the leadership role and quality and just like being, you have people out here that just want to do their 9 to 5. We call it quote unquote quote work for the man,
Mhm.
and that's it. I mean, that's cool, that's fine, but that was an era that was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And we've
Mhm.
spoken on the show before that. There's too many resources out here. There's too many like um, advantages out here to just work the 9 to 5 to be told just what to do. You know what I
And
mean? Yeah,
I think that all goes to mindset. And
correct.
I
Yeah,
think I think if you aren't addressing your mindset, and for a lot of people, because addressing your mindset is easier said than done. Like even me, like I sit here and I preach all this, do better for yourself and others and everything like that. But I'm still working on my
yeah. And
mindset,
I feel like
my
that's the
mental and all
misconception
that.
also. A
Yeah,
lot of times we see people, even on YouTube, even on TV, movies, to the fact that they're living a great life. We call it they're living their life. They're living their best
yeah.
life. But
Hmm.
you have no idea, understand what they may be going through internally. A
Or
lot of that's for show.
but
You
took
know what I mean?
or what it took to get them to that best life or everything like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
this, what's it called? This last week, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but I was at work and I was sitting down to have lunch, right? And
Yeah.
then somebody walked up and asked for help with something, right? And my one of my supervisors was walking by and she was like, nah, you just sat down to have lunch. Eat lunch and then go address the issue. Stop
Yeah.
putting yourself last, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
literally had to stop for a second and take that in because it's like, no, I consistently do that. Like
Yeah.
I put
Putting
myself last
putting
because I
others
am
first. Yeah.
because that's what I've been
Yeah.
taught to do. Like,
Yeah.
nah, my issues, my concerns don't matter. As long as everybody else around me good, I'll eat after, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And then
and
look at the consequences of that though. You know,
you end up sick, you end up in the hospital, you end
your
up
lunch is
like you
cold.
end up going without. Lunch is
Your
cold, all
lunch
of
is
that sort of
cold.
stuff.
I mean, it's just, you know, when you're putting others
And
first,
mhm,
it's and
and
not putting you first, you know, you're continuing a cycle. Pretty
yeah,
much that, you know, that's what you do in dating, you do in relationships, you do in potential marriage, you're doing that at
mhm.
work. You're doing that.
and
Yeah.
and I think what you just said about we do it in relationships and everything like that, I think that's part of the reason why a lot of um well, let me not say a lot, by why some relationships don't ultimately work out is because like men will put themselves last in the relationship so much
Yeah. Yeah.
that
And cater to 100% to a woman's needs when a lot of
that
times women don't even know what they want.
exactly. But
You know what I
on
mean?
top of that, we've put our needs so far behind that we don't even know exactly what we want in a relationship
Not
either.
only not know it, but we forget.
Mhm.
We forget. You ever been to a store and it's like you're in there and you look at an item that you didn't go in there and look for. You're like, oh, so and so will like this, and then you completely forgot what you went in there to get for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
So
and it's and now mind you, this isn't me downplaying the what's it called? The struggles of women all over the world who have had to deal with men who it's just me first, me first, me first. That's not me downplaying it,
yeah,
but
it's
there
not me
are
downplay. I will say that there are men and women have been taught to react in relationships differently,
yeah, but
and it's all about how you react in those relationships. If they didn't work out, how did you learn from them? If
mhm,
they are working out, how can you progress and move forward and continue to learn from them?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
and yeah,
And focus on the positive things, focus on the good things. But a lot of times is that, and we'll talk about this later, is that relationships don't really work because it's so focused on the bad. How can we fix the bad instead of focuses on how can we like progress more on the good?
well, I think that's a double-edged sword though, because it's
Yeah.
like you do need to you do need to work on the bad. Like you can't just focus on the good because that's how you end up like, you know, 5, 10 years down the line, you end up looking at the other person, realizing
So
you don't actually love this person, and you
that's
know,
true. That's true.
blinding you.
But
So it's
the how do you teach and move forward on certain bad, not all bad things, but certain bad things? It could be on you. It could be
mhm,
on them. And this is something I want to talk about later, is the fact that when you're dealing with someone else, it's just certain things you can't change within that person.
I
That person
understand
has to
that,
be able
and
to change that within that situation.
yeah, and I think that goes back to a little what we were both saying about that original wound. Like if you
Hmm.
don't address the original pain that you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
the baggage, the all of that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, you
Yeah.
don't address the original thing that has caused you to act and react in the ways that you are, then figuring out
It's
what
gonna carry with you throughout life.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then figuring out what you want and or need in a relationship becomes secondary at that point.
It's gonna toxic your mentality on it.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much the misconceptions of a man being able to be programmed by society, by say your significant other, by work, by people you may not know, TV, movies, for the fact that you need to cater to someone else before catering to yourself. So I feel like a kind of a good advice going forward is that focus on yourself, focus on what you need to go through.
In a
And
healthy
then
way.
once you've garnered that language, that knowledge, help others navigate
Mhm,
through the bad and the good. That's
mhm.
kind of how this podcast came about.
Yeah.
So again, we really appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the video, subscribe to the page. Many more topics are coming. Many more shows are coming. Really appreciate it. You guys follow us on Let's Rap _ on Instagram, Let's Rap 2 on Twitter. All that's down in the description. Also, you guys make sure you follow J Echo. You guys follow myself, Philosophical. We're constantly talking about these things. Love to hear you guys' feedback and comments on it. Thank you so much. Peace.